Today, I am so excited to be speaking with Kim Meckwood, who is the founder and CEO of Click and Carry, and Chase Blum, who is the Vice President of Marketing at Click and Carry. Thank you both so much for joining me this morning. I'm just so excited to talk with you both about your journey leading up to your appearance on Shark Tank, where you are now, and everything in between.
Sounds good. I'm happy to share. And Chase has been a part of that journey for the last 2.5 years, and he's just amazing.
So, for those who may not know what Click and Carry is, can you give our listeners a bit of a brief overview?
Sure. So this is Click and Carry, and it's a simple handle device that helps shoppers to manage and carry multiple bags at once comfortably, either in the hand or over the shoulder. And I'll quickly show you how it works. You twist it open and you load handle bags onto each side. And the key is to evenly distribute the weight. So if you have 40 pounds of groceries, put about 20 pounds on each side. And it's any bag with a handle, plastic, paper, canvas, your purse. Then once you have the bags in, you click it tightly into place. And then you could either carry it in your hand, or better, you could wear it over your shoulder. I invented it for groceries, but people use it as a ski boot tote or for dry cleaning, for paint cans, construction pails. You could walk multiple dogs at once. It's great for sports equipment. Gosh, one buckets. But once you get it home, this is fun. You actually could use it as a stand for your phone or your iPad. So it could be used all
Wow.
around the house. And the reason we found out all of these uses is through our customer base. They would report back and show us all the fun ways that they would use Click and Carry. So it's been a fun journey.
Oh my gosh, that is so fun. I definitely have one on my Christmas wish list for this year, so I'm definitely excited about that. Of course. So going back to your childhood a little bit, were there any role models or family members who inspired you when you were younger?
Not in entrepreneurial skills, no, no. But I have a great and supportive family. However, I've always been this crazy mad scientist in the way that I've always been out trying to invent things. And my first real job was selling painted rocks around the neighborhood at 6 or 7. And then at 15, I invented a waterbed raft. I told my mother about it. She wouldn't pay the $800 for a patent. And sure enough, a couple of years later, we saw it at the pool store. So that just continued. I've
Wow.
been one to tinker with things and try to think of new creative ways to do things. And then this particular invention came to me in a dream. I had to break up with a boyfriend and I had to carry my own groceries, and I knew that there had to be an easier way. So the invention came to me in a dream, and it was actually just the bottom, and it worked perfectly. But the problem is when you set the bags down, they would pop out. So I knew that there had to be a top. So the next iteration was with a magnet, and that worked well. But the problem is people would lose one of two pieces. So a couple of iterations later, I came up with Click and Carry, which is actually patterned after a barrette, believe it or not, a spring-loaded barrette. And you could tell by the shape of it. But the lovely thing is you could twist it open, so you have all of the space with which you can load your whatever you're carrying, all of your toting items. So it's been a fun progressive journey.
That's incredible. Wow. I did watch your Shark Tank video and everything, and I saw that it came to you in a dream. That kind of answered my next question. I was going to ask, was there a specific moment that sparked the idea for Click and Carry? So,
Yep, it was the lack of a boyfriend and having to carry my own groceries. I stopped shopping and was eating out all the time. It was getting expensive and I was gaining weight, so I had to fix it.
there's a reason for everything, even in breakups, because,
Yep.
if that didn't happen, this may not have come to fruition. So that's just incredible.
It's true because I'm from a completely different background, so it's true, but it has been a lot of fun.
Wow. That's incredible. You mentioned that you tried 7 times to get on the Shark Tank, which is incredible to me. When I heard that, I was like, wow. Can you tell us some more about your story of perseverance and what inspired you to continue applying to the show?
Sure. Well, first of all, it's my favorite show. I still watch it to this day. I just think it's a great show, and I think it gives people hope. And that's what America is about. In fact, Chase and I can discuss a little bit later what we're doing to try to help others who have had problems with infringement from, in particular, Chinese companies. But that's the American dream, is to think of an idea and to be able to bring it to market. So it has been my favorite show. And I worked at the time, I was in the medical device industry, and I didn't have a lot of spare money to actually promote this. Plus I had a very serious full-time job. I worked for Medtronic at the time. So I I knew that I needed the exposure of a Shark Tank. Plus, I love the show and I knew it would be a great way to spread my message. So I applied. And actually, the second time I applied, I made it to the finals. And by that, I mean, I was working with producers for a couple of months working on my pitch. And at the 11th hour, I was yanked and I didn't fight it. I don't know why. That's just not who I am. I usually would fight it and I'd say, oh no, you're making a mistake. You need to film me. I didn't do that.
Wow.
So it was back to the drawing board and I continued. I didn't think I had to apply the following year because the producer said, don't worry about it. Well, it turns out he left and took a different job. So I missed 1 year in between. And then I was just back on the Shark Tank journey trying to apply because I knew that I had to spread the message, and everybody needs a click and carry. It makes life so much easier. So I just continued and continued, and eventually I made it back to working with the producers. And the irony is that my main producer, he's amazing. His name is Sean. He asked me if I remembered him, and I just assumed I knew him from Los Angeles because we both live in Los Angeles, or I did at the time. And it was because he was the assistant producer when I was working with my original producer. So how things have changed and grown over the years. So it was a very interesting coinky dink.
Wow, that's incredible. Oh my gosh. I think that's so important for people to hear, to just, if you have something to share, keep working at it and it will be shared to the masses.
Listen, there are a lot of naysayers out there. If you have an idea or an invention, don't listen to the naysayers. I mean, obviously, listen to feedback and take that feedback and implement it into your design or your business or your idea. But if you know you have a good idea or a good invention, just go for it. Just block all that out and just full force ahead. That's
That's
my
great.
advice.
That's a great message. My next question is for both you and Chase. So I know you just mentioned intellectual property and everything that you all are striving to do in that area. Protecting your intellectual property is so important, especially with the success of Click and Carry that you all have achieved. Can you explain why protecting intellectual property is so crucial and why it's so important to you, and then what you're doing right now?
Absolutely. I'll answer the first part of that question, and I'm gonna pan it off to Chase. He and I have been working with various departments within the US government to try to help other small and medium-sized businesses like ours to protect their intellectual property rights. And it's because that is the American dream. If our inventions through uh, patents, trademarks, and copyrights are being ripped off easily by Chinese infringers, then what is the incentive to go and file for intellectual property? So it's going to be a terrible cycle, and it's going to bring down anyone's desire to spend money on patent attorneys or trademark attorneys, or even money to file a patent if they're doing it by themselves, if there's no incentive to be able to use that protection to stop infringers and copywriters and counterfeits. So with that, I will let Chase describe some of the things we're doing. There are many things, and we're just starting to get it together now, but we're going to be launching a huge campaign to other small and medium-sized businesses in January that I'm sure that Chase will touch on, but he can tell you about some of the things we're doing in the meantime, because he's been such a champion at protecting our intellectual properties. In fact, that's how I was able to find your amazing company, QTIAA. So go ahead, Chase.
Yeah, I think protecting your intellectual property is important because without it, it's almost like you don't own your own invention and anything else you create. Because if anyone else can make it, it's not really yours. So to that, and we've been working with some platforms to some e-commerce platforms to try to give some feedback on some difficulties in the system in protecting intellectual property. And like Kim said, we're putting together some resources for other entrepreneurs who are experiencing IP infringement and trying to just help everybody innovate together and keep protecting their ideas.
To keep that American dream alive, right, Chase?
Absolutely.
And then for that campaign that Kim just mentioned, what will that entail? What are the plans for that? I'm intrigued.
Well, we're starting with a letter to congressmen and to senators. Through Shark Tank, we probably represent all 50 states, and not everyone is having an issue, but there are over 700 of us who align forces to share best practices. So chances are, out of the 700, there are probably at least 100, maybe a little bit more people who have experienced this with counterfeiters or knockoff artists. So we want to start by making sure that the US government is aware of this, because the only way that this is really going to change is through legislation. So that's how we're going to do it initially. And by using the cohesive group of the Shark Tank, we'll really be able to get the word out. But we also want to bring in other small to medium-sized businesses, because we're not the only ones who are experiencing this. For example, let's say someone becomes very famous on TikTok. Well, that's great for them. They're making all this money and selling many, many products, but that also puts an arrow to their head, because that's fodder for those people in, let's say, Chinese factories to knock off their product and to sell against them at a lower price that we won't be able to compete with. Plus, there's something called the de minimis clause, which means that if something is under $800, it could be delivered into the United States tax-free or tariff-free. And many of these Chinese factories are able to send in product, the same product that I make, for less, meaning the cost of the item and the shipping for less than it costs me to ship it from, let's say, Pennsylvania to California. So it's just a very unfair practice, because I import from China, my factory is there, but I have to pay importation taxes and fees.
Right.
So it's not a fair competition. So legislation needs to be enacted, and that's what we plan on doing. And we plan on launching a campaign upcoming at a Shark Tank reunion. We're obviously waiting until after the election, and then in January we're going to go full force. And not only will it include the Shark Tank pals, but it's also going to expand to other small and medium-sized businesses who are experiencing what we're experiencing.
Wow. That's incredible. I think that's so great that you're doing that, getting everyone involved as well, because it's just like a spread out issue that a lot of people just don't realize. And I just think that's incredible that you're going to legislation and everything, doing all of that. Wow.
We're going to try, because otherwise, like I said earlier in our conversation, otherwise, what is the incentive to file for intellectual property? And that's what makes America America. And listen, the Patent and Trademark Office is behind us too. They want people to continue to innovate and to have protection. So we're going to just do our best. We're going to give it a whirl.
Yes. Oh, that's so great. And if you need our help or support in any way, you absolutely have it.
Thank you. You have already been so helpful. Chase works very closely with Will and Cheryl, and through that, we're figuring out the process. We're trying our best to get all of those infringers taken down off of the various platforms.
Yes, yes. It's a process, but the ending will be great. I have faith in that. When did you notice that your product was being infringed upon?
It's a new thing. It was October of 2023, so it's coming up
Oh.
on a year.
Did you see it on a specific platform? Did somebody send you like an ad or?
I'm thinking that a friend sent it to me. The first one I noticed was on Amazon, so I don't remember how exactly it happened, but when it happened, I'll be honest, I was quite depressed for a couple of months, and I had to gather myself, and Chase and I set out on a strategy, and we probably started in about January to really get things going and learn from others who have experienced the same thing. So we've learned a lot, and even just the last couple of months, it's amazing just by taking the initiative to call up people within the government. For example, I had an Amazon event with the director of the Patent and Trademark Office, Kathy Vidal, back in I believe it was March of the year earlier, and she has become a friend. So I called her and told her what I'm experiencing and how I'm fearful that in the long run, it's going to deter people from being innovative. And she agrees, and she put us in touch with various departments within the government, and everyone's been willing to take our call and to help us. And we've spent many hours talking to the different divisions of government and being led in this direction or that direction, and all have been helpful. And the amazing thing is everybody has been willing to help us, and they're currently helping us. So that's where we ended up getting all of this advice from. Things are being done with like Customs and Border Patrol, IP protection at the White House, obviously the Patent and Trademark Office. I feel like I'm missing someone. Am I missing anyone, Chase?
The IPR Center at the Homeland Security was helping us, and different teams at Alibaba and Amazon and Temu. They've been helping us to work on that too.
Yep. We're very thankful. Everyone has been amazing. That's another thing that goes back to what you said about being persistent. Take the initiative and call them and see if they could help you, because you might be surprised at what you receive on the other end. It's just like applying for Shark Tank multiple times. We called whoever we thought could help us, and sure enough, they've been able to help us, and we've learned a lot along the way.
It's definitely a learning process. I've learned a lot being with QCI.ai that I hadn't learned beforehand. That is just, it's so important, to protect your intellectual property and be persistent about protecting your work, because it is your work in the end. It's like you have the right to it. The more you know, the more you can protect it as well.
Absolutely. And what I love most about QTI is how passionate Will and Cheryl are about helping others, and how your company began. It was because of I forgot her name, but the female artist who was infringed upon, I believe it was on Etsy, but the amount of resources available to us through QTI has been incredible, and they're open to listen to us for suggestions on how to improve the services, but they're also so willing to like just get in there and fight for us. And it's been really amazing, and I'm really happy that I found your company.
I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah, their passion rubs off on everyone. It's incredible because, beforehand I had limited knowledge of what intellectual property was, what patents were, trademarks were, copyright and everything. But I've just been so eager to learn more, and yeah, it's great, and I'm thankful to work for them, definitely.
Yep. I mean, it helps a lot of people, and it's a situation where no one has the ability to search all day, and Will
Right.
found an amazing way to be able to protect our intellectual property and notify us when there's an infringer. I mean, it happens within hours. It's pretty incredible, and
Yeah.
it's a 24-hour thing. So we're really thankful, and we've actually spread the word, and we've told a lot of our Shark Tank pals about it, and we will continue to do so because it has been a really good program for us.
We appreciate that greatly. Thank you so much. This question, what advice would you give to small artists or companies who have been infringed upon and they don't really know where to start? What would you tell them?
Oh boy. I would say that you need to stop and take a breath and take it in, because it's violating. It's like when your car is broken into. It's a terrible feeling, because it took a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to get to this point, and I'm not about to let some criminal in a factory in China take away everything I've worked hard for. So I've learned that, number one, you have to continue to innovate. So shame on me for not expanding my product line sooner, and that's what I'm currently doing. Number two, after you take your break and you let it sit with you, there are so many resources out there like QTI AI. There are ways to work with us. We're hoping to help other small and medium-sized businesses, because it takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of energy, and it takes a lot of money. I mean, I've spent money in the last, let's say 7 or 8 months on patent attorneys, paying salaries, paying QTI AI membership, I pay a virtual assistant, so it's a lot of money and it's a lot of time, but maybe because we're going to be having safety in numbers by bringing everyone, all of the small and medium-sized businesses together, maybe as a collective group, we can make an impact with legislation. So that's the goal. So we plan on having anyone with the same issue reach out to us, because we would love to have you as part of our collective to try to influence the government to do something about this and to help protect us against the companies that are able to bring their products in duty free.
That is great. Thank you so much for that. I have a question for Chase. Chase, what is your favorite part of working on marketing for Click and Carry?
I think it's a really fun company to be a part of. As you can tell, Kim is wonderful and has an awesome energy and is great to work with, and she's so supportive of me and everything that I do. And she's taking me to Vegas to hang out with all the Shark Tank people and so many other cool things, and just a pleasure to work with. So I'd say working with Kim is the best part.
We definitely figure out a lot of things together, but Chase is one smart cat. That's all I have to say. I'm very lucky to have him on the team.
That's great. I can
Oh,
tell that you're
thanks.
both just so passionate about what you do. It shows even through the screen of my laptop. So that's just incredible. And I can tell that you have an incredible team as well. It's amazing. Then my last question for the both of you, where do you see Click and Carry in 5 years, and what plans do you have for the tentative future?
Wow, that's a big one. Well, we were scared about this situation, so we're actually making a pivot. We're going into retail right now. So Chase and I have been so busy. It's amazing what it entails on the back end. First of all, selling to the retailers and being accepted is the number one most difficult part. But then the follow-up. So for example, we're going into Albertsons Safeway, and it's just a
Wow.
test. We're so excited. It's just a test. We don't know exactly how many stores yet. It's somewhere between 100 and 300 stores.
Wow.
So we've done a lot of research on the back end. For example, Chase has found 70 stores across the country that would be perfect parameters for us to sell into, because they're close to a big college. There are a lot of high-rise apartments. So there's a lot of public transportation necessary, because this is great for someone who takes public transportation. It's also great for people in cars, but imagine like having to schlep, let's say you're a teacher, your book bag, you want to stop at the store on the way home. So this would enable you to wear your groceries or your book bag or your backpack or whatever the case may be. So we've identified about 70 stores so far that would be perfect fits, because we want to make this test successful. We're also right now creating what is called the shipper, which is that beautiful display that you see in the store that is basically self-contained. So we're designing the graphics for the shipper. We're working with a couple of different graphic artists right now. We're getting into Tractor Supply Company. We're also doing a test there between 50 and 100 stores. So for
Wow.
them, we have to modify the header card, because they want a clip strip, which means there'll be multiple Click and Carries hanging in a row, but there'll be a big header card. So for them, we're going to make it more appealing to that crowd. So we'll include pictures of using it, carrying buckets for, let's say, feed or water for livestock, or gravel for a construction project, or whatever the case may be, or bundles of hay. So you basically have to pertain it to different areas based on their focus and their target market. And I said the word areas. That's another place we're going into. Areas is basically a store that is located in major airports throughout the country and in travel villages. So we're actually starting with them as well. And obviously for them, I believe they're going to do a shipper as well. So we're going to make sure that we show Click and Carry for scuba diving gear, and Click and Carry for ski boot totes and people traveling. So maybe like we have this fabulous video of a flight attendant, and she has a Click and Carry, and she hooks her small travel bag with her lunch onto her regular carry-on. So we'll do things like that. And for them, we're actually going to make a video, because they're going to loop it in the store so people see Click and Carry in
Wow.
action. So that's one of the things we're working on right now, but I'll let Chase share any other ideas he has.
I say the same thing you are, and I think you're gonna see this thing everywhere in a couple of years because we have some big retail launches we're working on right now. We have some others who are kind of sniffing around who are interested. Won't go into too much detail until those are more confirmed, but I think it's going to be something you see people keeping in their pantries in the kitchen, and they'll keep one in your car, and maybe you'll keep one in your purse. I think it's going to become a pretty common household thing in not too long. So, 5 years, you'll have one in your home.
I
Everybody
hope I
walks
have
in.
multiple.
I think
Nice.
so. Yeah, I think you'll have multiple. It's funny because as Chase was talking, we forgot to tell you that we actually customize them for certain groups, and
Oh my
um,
goodness.
so
Wow.
we're hoping to expand in that direction too. So
Yes.
it's going to be like an umbrella. You're going to have multiple at your house.
Yes. Wow, I'm at a loss of words. That's incredible. Chase, you're doing incredible on the marketing front. It shows. So props to you for that. And Kim, you just have an incredible product and you're doing a great job promoting it and everything. And yeah, I cannot wait to have 10 click and carries at every point in my house, in my car, everywhere. So that's incredible, especially being a college student. I'll be happy to get one.